In the news tonight, Southeast governors call for immediate intervention on facilities at Anambra International Airport, Enugu. Anambra State born Tochukwu Anyigbo with Team Nigeria win bronze in Global Robotics Challenge in Mexico, USA. Federal government seals 321 pharmaceutical outlets in Bayelsa over unwholesome practices. On the foreign scene, China offers $60 billion financial support to Africa. Good evening and thanks for joining us on the news. I am Franklin Onyekachi. Now the news in details. Governors of the Southeast Geopolitical Zone have called for immediate intervention on facilities at the Anambra International Airport to make it safe for landing. The governors took the stand after their meeting in Enugu. We have details.
Appreciating federal government's earlier intervention on the airport, the governors, however, drew its attention to the deplorable state of the runway lights and the tarmac and called on the Minister of State for Aviation to quickly visit the airport for an on-spot assessment and urgent intervention. They also called on the federal government to step up the reactivation of the cargo section of the airport. The governors also took a firm position on the alleged short change of the zone in execution of projects, citing the 2017 capital budget implementation as an example. Chairman of the forum and Governor of Ebonyi State, Engineer David Umahi, in a communique he read to the press, said they were aware that the contract for the airport project was given to the company that resurfaced the tarmac, but did not know whether the tarmac is worse on completion of the sections. So our demand is that the minister should come with experts to look at it. He noted that also that there is runway light recently installed which has not been functional properly and needs immediate intervention.
The governor of Anambra State, Chief Willie Obiano, has urged Ndi Anambra living in China to be hardworking and to fly the flag of the state high in their entire endeavors as worthy ambassadors.
The Anambra nine na China and make a no. Never kind of flag up, flag high. We are the light of the nation. Please show it in everything we do. Yeah.
Governor Obiano, who is currently on investment drive in China, also reminded them to live exemplary lives, bearing in mind the Anambra motto, Light of the Nation. Anambra-born Tochukwu Anyigbo is among the bronze-winning team Nigeria, which won 2 bronze medals at the first Global Robotics Challenge held in Mexico that featured a total of 161 teams from different countries. We have details.
Won in the Outstanding Supporter and International Journey categories, comprised of 5 secondary school students schooling in Lagos State, and was made up of 4 girls and a boy selected after a competitive process held on April 28, 2018 at the Syrian Club. The students are Anjo La Lua Owokore, Tochukwu Anyigbo, Daberechi Onye Echelum, Udoderem Iro Aganachi, and Samuel Ikenamba, who were coached on teamwork, commitment, problem solving, and critical thinking for over 3.5 months. This year's Global Robotic Challenge focused on energy impact, and students had to build a robot that stimulated providing energy using 4 energy sources: solar, wind turbine, combustion plant, and fuel cubes. Mrs. Remy Uwelugbe of Alufos Science and Technology Foundation, which helped prepare Team Nigeria, said the team visited the Egbim power plant in Ikorodu to understand country's source of energy, and they were able to reflect on how to improve energy source in Nigeria and even picking up a few words in other languages. Mrs. Uwelugbe thanked Governor Willie Obiano on behalf of the Association of STEM Educators in Nigeria for the moral and financial support to the team, concluding that the team's success was made possible by the governor's donation towards the team's fundraising goal. Speaking exclusively with Anambra Broadcasting Service. Mr. Jude Anyibo, the father of a 16-year-old Tochukwu Anyibo, said he is grateful to God and very proud of his daughter and Team Nigeria for the achievement, considering the hard work and sacrifice that went into the preparation. According to him, Tochukwu is good in arts and sciences and the labor prefect of Lagoon School, and thanked Governor Willie Obiano and the state government for co-sponsoring the team.
The State Police Command has warned individuals, groups, and organizations against gatherings, actions, or utterances capable of threatening the relative peace presently enjoyed by Anambra. The State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Garba Umar, gave the warning during a press briefing at the State Police Headquarters in Amobia, following remote plans by indigenous people of Biafra to call for another seat at home. Our correspondent, Emmanuel Okonkwo, completes the story.
Mr. Omar, while emphasizing on the synergy among security agencies in the state in security affairs, said they are committed to sustaining the strong security network in the state through collective efforts and would not tolerate anybody or group that attempts to cause confusion.
We want to assure members of the public to ignore the call by these so-called IPOC. They don't exist. Legally, they don't exist, and we don't know. And nobody. We are appealing to others not to join hands with them. Therefore, everyone should go and do his lawful businesses.
The State Police Boss advised the IPOB members to avoid anti-peace actions on the said date in order to avert possible consequences, as the agencies are prepared to combat any unlawful and anti-peace activity that may arise. Mr. Umar enjoined the general public to go about their lawful businesses on the said day, as their safety is guaranteed.
Primary responsibility is to provide atmosphere, protection to members of the public and other places.
He also made it clear that the security agencies would not also tolerate the group's proposed call for referendum on the 8th of this month in Oka. I am Emmanuel Okonkwo, reporting for ABS News.
The State Council of Traditional Prime Ministers has called on Indibo to always take pride in their rich cultural heritage to save it from going into extinction. We have details from our studios.
In a resolution after its meeting at Neni in Anocha local government area, the council charged parents of Igbo extraction to always inculcate Igbo customs and tradition in their children as part of efforts to safeguard the heritage. It canvassed for scholarship schemes to be instituted for indigent children of Ndibo by philanthropists to secure a bright future for them. The council, in the resolution, which was endorsed by its president, Chief Anthony Enukeme, and Secretary General, Chief Joe Nwegu, called on Indibo to embrace farming to ensure food security. It commended Governor Willie Obiano for all his efforts to transform the state through quality and result-oriented governance, and called on Anambra to continue with their support to his administration for enhanced development of the state. The council paid glowing tribute to the founding fathers of Anambra State as it clocks 27 years, describing the achievements recorded so far as monumental. The communique called for prayers to ensure a hitch-free general election in 2019.
The Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, PCN, an agency in the Federal Ministry of Health, has sealed 321 pharmaceutical outlets in Bayelsa State over alleged cases of quackery, non-compliance with regulatory laws, and lack of registered personnel to handle medicines in their premises. Out of the 427 outlets inspected, 321 were found to be below operating standards of the PCN, which, according to the PCN inspection team, poses a great threat to residents of the state. The Director of Inspection and Monitoring in PCN, Mrs. Antonia Aria, who disclosed this after the inspection exercise carried out by the PCN team in a press briefing, said the affected premises were guilty of improper handling of controlled substances, unhygienic environment, and poor documentation and dispensing of ethical and prescription drugs without the presence of a pharmacist. According to her, though some 13 pharmacies were given compliance directive for various offenses, the inspection tour and seal of affected pharmaceutical stores was the first phase of the process, and further action will follow in due course in line with the national drug distribution system. She lamented that in the course of the inspection, the team discovered that many people go into sale of medicines without following due process, while others do not have the requisite knowledge or skills to handle all categories of medicine. She called on the public to always ask for registration status of facilities by requesting for licenses from pharmaceutical outlets to safeguard themselves from patronizing quacks. Nigerian pop star David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has come under fire for allegedly traveling to Boston for US tour when he is supposed to be at the Lagos camp observing the mandatory 3 weeks orientation period of the one-year National Youth Service Corps scheme. So many Nigerians have, however, expressed pros and cons as to whether the IF crooner has flouted the bylaws guiding the NYSC scheme with his travel. Davido just last week, Thursday, reported at the Lagos NYSC orientation camp at Anambra to conclude his registration, saying he was tying up every loose end. Many Nigerians had welcomed his decision to undergo the compulsory scheme, which requires, especially for the first 3 weeks orientation period in the camp, that every corps member must stay in the camp and in the state. The bylaws, however, stipulates that leaving the camp without permission of the state director will attract extension of the service year by double the number of days for which the member was absent from the camp, and forfeiture of his allowance for the same number of days of which he was absent. However, just after his registration, Davido is said to have traveled out of the country to Boston for his locked-up U.S. tour. This has, however, raised some arguments among Nigerians as to whether Davido was permitted to travel or whether or not he flouted the NYSC bylaws. China's President Xi Jinping has offered $60 billion in financial support to African countries and written off debt for poorer African nations. Speaking at the opening of a major summit with African leaders in Beijing on Monday, Xi said the figure included $15 billion in grants, interest-free loans and concessional loans, a credit line of $20 billion, $10 billion for development financing, and $5 billion to buy imports from Africa. Government debt from China's interest-free loans due by the end of 2018 will be written off for indebted poor African countries as well as for developing nations in the continent's interior and small island nations, Xi said. The Chinese leader also said that China will carry out 50 projects on green development and environmental protection in Africa, focusing on fighting climate change, desertification, and wildlife protection, the Chinese leader said. He pledged, without giving details, that China will set up a peace and security fund and a related forum while continuing to provide free military assistance to the African Union. Chinese companies will be encouraged to invest no less than $10 billion in the continent in the next 3 years, he added. The offer of more funds comes after a pledge of a similar amount at the previous forum on China-African Cooperation (FOCAC) in South Africa 3 years ago. Chinese officials say this year's summit will strengthen Africa's role in Xi's Belt and Road Initiative, which has already seen billions of dollars loaned to countries in Asia and Africa for roads, railways, ports, and other major infrastructure projects. And in the world of sports, the head of the Palestinian Football Association says he will appeal against FIFA's 12-month ban for comments made about Lionel Messi, calling it an unjust and political decision. FIFA last month banned Jibril Rajoub from attending matches for a year and fined him 20,000 Swiss francs for inciting hatred and violence after calling on fans to burn pictures and jerseys of Messi in the build-up to a friendly game with Israel. Rajoub had demanded that Barcelona star Messi not take part in the pre-World Cup friendly against Israel scheduled for June 9 and called on fans to burn shirts bearing his name if he did. The game was later cancelled after Argentina withdrew in his first press conference since the ban was announced. Raju denied any wrongdoing. Remember that you can follow news and programs on ABS Radio from any part of the world by logging on to our website at www.absradiotv.com, like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com, and follow us on Twitter at ABS Radio Television. And now the main points. Southeast governors have called for immediate intervention on facilities at Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu. Anambra-born Tochukwu Anyibo with Team Nigeria has won bronze in Global Robotics Challenge in Mexico, USA. Federal government has sealed 321 pharmaceutical outlets in Bayelsa over unwholesome practices. And we also told you that China has offered $60 billion financial support to Africa. And that does it on the news tonight. I am Franklin Onyekachi, thanking you for watching. Do have a pleasant night rest.